Hello everyone, I'm Gugulethu Mfuphi, the host of Kaya Biz, Kaya 959's prime business show that airs every Monday to Thursday between 6 and 8 p.m. Now, usually when we talk about all things to do with business and finance, we all know that there's always two things in life that are guaranteed, right? Death and taxes. And this time around, we're going to talk about the latter. It's tax season in South Africa for individuals for the year 2020 to 2021. And essentially, this means that for the majority of South Africans who happen to be employed, earn a significant amount of income, and of course might have certain deductions that are taken from that, this is where you need to make sure that you pay the South African Revenue Service your dues, your taxes. Now, in as much as this might be quite uncomfortable for many of us as South Africans, but we do know and we're well aware that the contributions we make to the Revenue Service have a ripple effect on the services that we are able to enjoy as South African citizens. But what are the key outcomes that you need to be mindful of? Well, first things first is the date. The tax season in South Africa for individuals opened officially on the 1st of July and will close on the 23rd of November. Now, bear in mind, there are certain exceptions because the closing date in November largely applies to individuals who might be submitting their tax returns using e-filing. Not only can it be done online through a very popular platform called e-filing that a few South Africans are quite familiar with, but even if you aren't, there are some online partners and tax practitioners who might be able to help you in terms of understanding that process and dynamic. But SARS has also been sure to make sure that in light of the pandemic that we've been living under, we are still able to social distance, but make sure that we submit our tax returns in a viable manner. So if you don't have internet access, while SARS has been able to reopen its doors to allow walk-in consultations, those can only be done via an appointment. And this is where you need to make sure that you reach out to SARS either through its chat service, online facilities, email, or their call center number to make sure that you can secure an in-office interview. Alternatively, we do most things all virtually these days. So you're also able to set up a meeting where you can consult with a practitioner or rather a specialist from SARS to assist you in filling out your tax returns. Now, what's also quite important for us to be mindful of is, of course, the new change in dynamics that might affect your SARS submission. Some South Africans might be lucky enough to be auto-assessed. And that essentially just means exactly what the word describes, where SARS uses your previous records and the patterns that they've witnessed to automatically fill in the missing numbers and dots where they apply. This would ordinarily work out for individuals who've been employed for a certain number of years within the same organization, earning a similar salary with the same benefits that they might have accrued over the last few years. Think of this as SARS making it easy for you to submit your tax return. So once you've been auto-assessed, you will be notified via SMS, and this is only open to people that SARS automatically selects. So there's no need for you to panic and want to call SARS to confirm if you have been auto-assessed. But do bear in mind that should there be some disagreements or elements that you're not necessarily aligned on with SARS, this is where you're welcome to also bring up disputes, share your recalculations of figures, and then determine whether you're due for a tax refund or if you actually have to make an additional payment to SARS. What's also been important to notice, especially during this last 15 months, is the fact that we've been living in a pandemic. And for many South Africans, this has changed the operating environment that we're in. Not only have many South Africans potentially gone through retrenchments, salary cuts, or even changing to alternative jobs in the last few years, that also calls for the responsibility to fall on you as the taxpayer, to make sure that you reach out to your former or previous employer and current employer to make sure that you get your tax affairs aligned and in order to make sure that they're reflective of your current income that you earn. Another element that's important to note is that for many South Africans, we've also seen that working from home has become quite a trend. And this is where SARS has also allowed for deductions to take place to claim for working at home expenses. But, like with all things, there's a caveat to this. There are certain terms that you need to fulfill and conditions that you need to ensure that you qualify under to effectively claim for home expenses for your tax season. Now, many of you might say, well, I work from my dining room table, sometimes from my bed. Unfortunately, those are some of the elements that will be scrutinized by SARS to make sure that you have a dedicated working space, that you also have approved office expenditure, such as your stationery, as well as other claims that you might be able to deduct, and that you do actually account for your time being spent there for a substantial number of contribution that you make to earning your income. So please be mindful of going back to the SARS website, reviewing the terms and conditions of the working from home deductions, and then making sure that you submit them accordingly. For many South Africans too, what we've witnessed in the last few years has been the growing demand to earn multiple streams of income. For some, this might push you into the bracket of being a provisional taxpayer, and for the rest of us, maybe it's just an additional form of income that you do need to make sure you disclose. So whether it's rental income from a property, dividend income from some of your investments, or even income from selling your cryptocurrencies. SARS these days is paying very much closer attention to cryptocurrency income that might be earned and ensuring that South Africans do disclose any crypto assets that they actually have. SARS is doing its best to make sure that they clamp down on all South Africans who might be earning some kind of income from the sale or the earnings that they accrue from owning some kind of crypto assets. So it has become imperative for you to make sure that you disclose these figures and this information to SARS to make sure that this is accounted for accordingly. Now, you might think that SARS won't be able to find those assets. Let it be very clear that SARS itself has told us that they are very, very cautious and calling for all South Africans to be mindful of being transparent with SARS before having to face the wrath of the law. And I guess another aspect that we need to be sure to consider as we continue to pay our dues to the taxman is to make sure that as you submit your documentation, as you file your returns, that you need to make sure that any supporting documentation is kept with you. SARS has the ability to go back into your previous orders and actually ask you to account for certain figures that might have been claimed. So any paperwork, any proof of asset purchases that you might have, anything that might be deemed important in terms of your tax submissions, please do be mindful of keeping all of those documents safe, on file, and on record for you to be able to pull out should the need arise once you get audited. And again, if an audit does take place, fear not. Through honest and open disclosure, with the support and help of a SARS official and, of course, even a tax practitioner to help you understand some of the legal elements of tax submissions, there's certainly an opportunity to make sure that you put your best foot forward and get fairly and equitably treated by SARS.